Hey, this is Russ. You might have wondered how I got involved with professional photography and where I am today. And so let me tell you real quickly how this all came about. It's kind of an interesting story how things had happened for me. In fact, I have a friend who said everything seems to go your way all the time. Okay. I wouldn't say that. Look at my knee. That didn't go my way too well. So anyways, here's how all this came about. Okay, I was always interested in photography, but I used photography in my work in law enforcement. As you know, that I had worked for several law enforcement agencies in the past. I have a degree in law enforcement, and I honed my skills in photography while doing law enforcement work. So part of the things that you do besides collecting evidence at crime scenes and fingerprint work and you take photographs of crime scenes. So you take photographs at homicide cases and burglary cases, robbery cases, you name it, we take photos of it. So eventually my photography skills got really good. And in time, I ended up as a forensic expert in photography. So I testify in court cases, in photography, video cases, and also in audio. So I have 3 core qualifications in 3 disciplines of forensic work. And so I also started doing weddings, as you know. I started doing weddings because I had photographed a crime scene. It relates to a crime scene. A guy whose house got burglarized was a wedding photographer. And so we exchanged names and numbers. And he says, maybe you can help me do a wedding one day. And so in time, I started doing weddings on the side for him while working at the DA's office doing crime scene work. So anyways, as we moved over to the Chicago area, I continued to take some weddings every now and then, and I still continued doing some forensic cases on my own, doing forensic audio work and photography work. So down the road, I ended up deciding that I would do full-time wedding photography as my main business, and I did that for, 10 years or more, something like that. But I had been shooting weddings prior to that, of course. So I think in all, I've been a pro photographer now for over 30 years. And so after a while doing all these weddings, my knees were hurting and everything. And I decided I can't do it anymore. I've got to stop. So I told my landlord, I says, unfortunately, I don't think I can continue because my knees are hurting too much. I'm going to have to stop my business. So she understood. And so we said goodbye and the like. So a couple of days later, I kept thinking, I says, man, I really would like to do something else. So I thought about the idea of maybe starting a rental studio where other photographers can come in, rent the studio, and take photos of their clients. And so I asked my landlord, I says, yeah, I know I said goodbye a couple of days ago, but hey, do you have any space that would allow me to be able to start a rental studio? And she didn't have enough space in the facility I was at, but she says, I have another space that's just right around the corner from Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg. She says, would you like to try that space? And I said, well, how much? And it was pretty expensive. So I said, yeah, I can't afford that. She says, okay, here's what I'm going to do for you. She says, I'm going to give you 3 months of free rent. All right. And you can try it. And if it doesn't work out, you can go away and it won't cost you anything. And if it works out, then you'll rent. I said, hey, that's pretty good. A friend of mine says everything goes your way, right? So anyways, we did that. And of course, it was a total flop. Nobody was interested in this. And so I told my landlord, says, yeah, this is not working out. I'm not doing well. She goes, well, you still have another month or so. So keep doing it and see what happens. So I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what can I do to get this to work. And my wife says, well, you could always teach, you could always do whatever. So I says, but the studio spaces doesn't have space for teaching. I says, but if we had a few students, it'd probably be okay. So this was around the time when Groupon was just starting to happen. Remember Groupon? So I contacted Groupon and said, what do I need to do in order to advertise on Groupon? And they says, well, typically you give a discount, and then the people buy the Groupon. And if you remember early stages of Groupon, okay, it was such that you had a certain quantity of offers that you were giving. Let's say you offered 700 deals, something like that. And then as people bought them, there's a minimum number that had to buy in order for the Groupon to be effective. So I think it was something like 25. And as long as 25 people buy it, then the Groupon was on. It was ready to go. So then it starts counting down to the maximum number that you offer, and if you run out, then there's no more Groupons offered. Okay, that's how it used to work. All right. Well, it worked out pretty good. There was a lot of people who were buying it, and so I offered a discount on my classes based on the fact that I had taught photography privately to other people in the past, and I based my fees based on how much I charged them in the past. So the discount was over 70-something% off of what I used to charge, and it was a group class situation. So I had so many people buy this deal. My landlord was really interested in this because she wanted to offer a Groupon deal to help her rental spaces. It was a shared office space that she had. And so she says, I'm going to watch how you do it, and maybe one day it could help for us. But she said Groupon was never interested in her because, hers can't be an ongoing thing. It's a one-time you rent and you're there forever, okay? So she was really shocked at how well I had sold so many Groupons for something that was just starting out in business, essentially. So I got to the point where I said, hey, I can't do this in this space. I don't think there's too many people that had bought this Groupon. I can't hold all these people in one space. She goes, well, I have a larger space. So she showed me the space that was around the corner, and it was probably like 3 times the size. I had already had the second largest space on that floor. This was the largest space on that floor. And so she says, you can take this space. I says, how much is the rent? And it was a lot higher, of course. But she says, but if you can get enough people doing this Groupon thing, it might actually pay off. So I took the gamble and I says, all right, let's do it. So I switched over to that space, and I was fulfilling these Groupons. The problem with Groupon is once you fulfill the Groupon, people leave, you're done. There's no more. They never come back. So I started thinking, I says, I have to offer more classes and sell those classes when people come to the first Groupon deal. So I put together other deals where, when they came to class, I gave them options of other classes they can buy at the same discount prices that I would offer on Groupon. But of course, it doesn't have to go through Groupon anymore because they brought them in. After that, it's up to you what you want to do. But since the discounts were just as good as a Groupon discount, people would buy 4 or 5 additional classes or more. So on the long run, Groupon brought them in, and I sold them the rest. Okay, so I got to the point where I had so many people coming in, I was running out of space. Even I was cramming about 24 people into a room to take my classes every single day. It was kind of ridiculous. So anyways, eventually my landlord decided that they were going to give up that floor on the building that they were out of. And so they had asked a whole bunch of the tenants who were renting from them to either move to one of her other facilities, or she would cancel the contracts and then they would be off of their leases. So I was one of that, of course, because we're on the same floor. So I had to find another space. And so I asked her, you don't have anything else anywhere else I can rent from you? And she didn't. I had already been the largest renter from her. So we parted ways, and I found myself another location that was still within the Woodfield Mall area, and I rented from another building. And so I continued with that, and was an even larger space. So yeah, it just kind of kept growing. So over all those years, I had around 12,000 students who had come through my classes. That's quite a few people, but it was all thanks to a start that my landlord had given me the opportunity to give a try. And then using marketing from Groupon, that brought people in. And then I sold additional classes on my own. So combination of multiple things happening. So anyways, I see messages popping up here in front of me here. So yeah, that's how I started out in photography. And even though a lot of people say, things fall in your lap, sometimes they do, but sometimes it's calculated too. And when opportunities come up, you have to take advantage of them and do it. But I think a lot of times it's the fear of doing something that stops most people. So that's how I got started in photography. That's how the photography business grew for me. And others have said, are you ever going to go back into the photography thing? I say no, but you never can tell. Anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys next time.